First item of business, tonight's meeting is roll call. Scott Dubler is vice chair.
Mark Evans.
Next item of the meeting is minutes of previous meeting.
I move we accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I now call out the public hearing to order. ZBA variance application, case number 2022-01, Mount Washington Railway Company. This has been circulated in the various newspapers of the Cobra Chronicle on 8/19, the News and Sentinel 8/24, the Berlin Daily Sun 8/25, the Coos County Democrat 8/24. And the abutters, applicant and attorney was certified mail on 8/17/22. I think we'll have you present your case.
Introduce my attorney, Russ Overall, and he'll be handling that presentation. Thank you.
Just a moment. I think we have to offer them the opportunity to defer this because we don't have a full board.
Yes, would you like to defer this or go forward? We don't have a full board tonight.
So it's our understanding, Mr. Chairman, if there's just the three of you, if we proceed forward, then in order for us to be successful, we would need unanimous.
Yep.
So,
You understand that? Please
Yes.
proceed.
yes.
So you do have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Could you guys all speak up just a little bit, please?
I'll do my best.
Well, that gentleman, I can remember this. You can hear you.
That's fine. Please carry on.
All right,
I'm
Mr.
listening.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff, Jennifer, members of the public, good evening. My name is Earl Duvall, and I'm counsel for the Mount Washington Railway Company. I think you all know Wayne Presby, owner and president. I'd also like to introduce Ryan Presby, general manager, who's with us. I thought it would be best, and I'm not sure if I see the package, but what I'd like to do is walk through the application because I think there's some important things in there that we should take a look at. So with our application was the application, the form for the variance, list of abutters. We did have, it's probably a little difficult to see, it's 11/17 of the train platform. I do have a larger size on the back of this board. Let's see. We have the denial of the zoning permit, which you all know that's required for us to do here. And then I also submitted, and I think this is very important for all of us, the minutes from the Coos County Planning Board dated September 15th of 2021. So just so this board is fully aware, we have gone before the planning board and we have received approval for the platform at Waumbek. And the approval that we received is for an 18-foot wide by 120-foot long platform. So we are here before you asking to increase the width of that platform from 18 feet to 28 feet. And that increase would put us inside the 25-foot setback by, I think it's 10 feet 8 inches. We made it very clear to the planning board that we thought that we might be wanting to increase the width of that platform and asked them if we did increase the width of that platform, what would be required of us for them. And as you can see from the minutes of that meeting, what they asked us if we decided to come for the variance, that approved, then they would want us to submit an updated set of plans to them. I skipped over a list of abutters. Our abutter is the White Mountain National Forest. I don't see anyone here from them, but I wanted to let this board know that I did meet on 2 separate occasions with Derek Iberkin. I'm not sure if I did justice to his last name, and with Brooke Brown, both the forest supervisor and supervising forest ranger. So and that's part of what has taken us so long to get here, is that we wanted to make sure that we met with them and that we were fully transparent as to what it is we are proposing at Waumbek. So we've shared with them the plans, the intent of the station, the distances. I shared in advance the narrative that I submitted to you folks. We reviewed that narrative and, you know, the 5-part test together. Talked through the project on the 2 separate occasions, and I asked them if I could represent, if someone wasn't here, that we had met and that they had shared that they had no objection to the platform, and that they did. So.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Is that in writing?
No, it's not. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Let's see, the next, okay, check. I filled out the check tonight. Thank you, Jennifer. Exhibit 1 to the property was the deed. We might get into that a little bit more specifically. And then there was also the property map, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, 1605. I wrote on this one. It's just a nice visual. You can see Marshfield, the base station, up to the summit of Mount Washington, and it's sort of fun to look to see Chandler's Purchase, Thompson and Reserve's Sergeant's Purchase, and then see how we're surrounded, on all sides of our fee-owned property by the White Mountain National Forest. Not knowing how familiar everyone was, I also did 3 different Google Maps. Those are in your package, but I put them up here as well. Just to give you a visual as to Marshfield Station. The railway runs up, it's 3 miles up to the summit. And here, I did.
These people who belong to police, so everybody.
Yes. Then I did a blow up of the Google map showing Marshfield just up to Waumbek, and then a blow up of just Waumbek. And those are just Google representations, so that you would get an idea from the rail corridor from the base to the summit as to where we are proposing the extension or addition to our platform. This is just a picture from Waumbek, looking down the mountain. These 2 photos that were Exhibit 3 to our submission is they're photos that we had submitted with the planning board with regards to what the existing conditions before we sought approval for the platform. And you can see that there's, I think we have 5 lean-tos up there.
3.
3 there? Okay.
There were 3 there.
Okay, thank you. 3 lean-tos there sitting at Waumbek. And I think you probably all read, we use Waumbek when the weather is too bad to reach the summit or during winter operations. So train goes up to Waumbek, passengers disembark there for maybe 25 minutes. They're able to enjoy depending on the weather, enjoy shelter in one of those lean-tos. There's hot beverages, hot cocoa, some refreshments. During the holidays, Santa Claus visits Waumbek. So it's a nice venue. I'll come back to this harness rendition. Make sure this isn't upside down. And again, this is part of your submission. You each have that plan. But giving you that visual representation as to where Waumbek was, the main line. Here's the platform. And again, what's been approved is 18 feet wide by 120 feet long. And the request is an additional 10 feet. The importance of this platform is that we have found during the winter months that allowing our guests to visit Waumbek Station, it's rocky, it's muddy, it's icy, and we're looking to create a station that provides a much more enjoyable and much safer venue for the guests. So as you can see, part of that deed talks about the property. And let me just go back to this. I'm not sure how many of you have seen this map, but we've been living with this map for a few years now, I think. This is the, a lot longer than that, 150 years. This is the summit of Mount Washington. This here, all the yellow property here is owned by the state. This blue, if you can tell that it's blue from where you are, is the railroad's property. And this is the 3-mile property that is 99 feet wide and runs all the way down to Marshfield Base Station. And the railroad owns that in fee. As well, they own this little parcel here. It's called, this map says parcel D. They own that in fee, and that's an 80 by 200 foot parcel. And that's inside the state's property, and this is referred to as the Mount Washington State Park. So when you look at the property, it's 99 feet, and it's measured from the center rack, 49.5 feet, 49.5 feet in each direction, makes the 99 feet.
By the way, if you flip that back, so this entire summit area that's in yellow, that was all owned by the railroad up until 1951, and it was donated to Dartmouth College, and Dartmouth College then sold the right-of-way and the operating assets of the railroad back to the general manager at that time, and then sold the rest of the property off to the state of New Hampshire to establish a state park.
And that's actually the deed that's included as Exhibit 1. It's showing that transfer from Dartmouth to the railway. We have commenced construction of the 18 by 200. We've applied for our building permits with the State Fire Marshal's Office. We've poured all the footings. Fire Marshal's Office has been out and inspected those, and we have all the plans approved for the platforms, the guards, the stairs, the railings, and everything else as well from the Fire Marshal's Office. So we've been working with them very closely on the project. Is there any questions regarding specifically what it is Waumbek Station is, what it is we're proposing to do, what it is we're asking of you folks, and I don't know when you might want to move on to the 5-part variance test.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm a zoning board member, Roland Lucky Diverge. My question is, how important is increasing the platform? Is it main, I heard you say mud and all that in the spring, but is it mostly for safety or convenience?
It's for safety. In order for us to provide, how many you've done, well, Waumbek Station has been in existence for a long time, but in the winter months that we've been running now, it's
Sometimes there's 500 people a day on a weekend that go up there. And the other thing is that these lean-tos are 10 feet wide. So if we just keep the existing 18-foot wide platform, we've got a lean-to sitting on there that's 10 feet wide with a deck in front of it that's only 8 feet. And then it becomes incredibly congested with the people.
Yeah, I've never been on the Cog Railroad, but once you're at the Waumbek station, is that correct? You can stay there as long as you want, then you go down, or does that mean there's more people at the platform than usual?
No, generally what we do is we run trips up. When do we go up, Ryan? Every hour and
Every hour and 15 minutes.
every hour and 15 minutes, and people stay there for about
20 to 25 minutes.
right. And then they reboard those same trains and come down.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. Is it okay for the public to ask a question?
Wait a minute, please.
Okay.
You said you already put the footings and piers in. Was this approved by the planning board already? I'm just reading the minutes trying to play catch up.
yes, yes.
So you've been approved.
What's been approved by the planning board is the 18,
18 by 120.
Right.
Correct,
Exactly.
correct.
Any other questions?
I'm good, they're asking for 10 feet.
I hit it.
Guess we're ready.
I think we'll step through the application first and we'll have public comment afterwards. Is that fair?
Yes, thank you.
I had to find your,
Ah,
you kept throwing
okay.
paperwork at me.
I'm sorry.
Now we'll walk down through your application.
Okay,
The public will bring contact afterward through application and we'll have public comment afterwards. Is that okay? Now, item one, granting variance would not be contrary to public interest because.
all right. The additional platform is an accessory use to the existing station in an area that is only developed by the railroad and that is surrounded by thousands of acres of dense forest on both sides of the track. And would submit that granting variance would not be contrary to the public interest because it does not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, nor does it threaten the health, safety, and general welfare of the public.
If the variance were granted, the spirit of the ordinance would be observed because.
I'd like to start by saying that, in general, I think it's understood that setbacks are established to promote the health, safety, or general welfare for the public. Setbacks do this by lessening congestion in the streets and prevent landowners from crowding the property of others, allow for safe placement of utilities, securing safety from fires, panic, other dangers, and importantly for providing for adequate light and air. I'd submit that the spirit of the ordinance would be observed because it would not threaten the health, safety, or general welfare of the public, and that the legal purpose of the setback would not be violated. I'd add that as proposed, there would still be a 14-foot 4 inches from the edge of the platform to the property line, which of the White Mountain National Forest is very
can you get a snowcat or something through that space without stepping over into,
Yes, yes,
I'm not sure, cause some of them are pretty wide,
yes.
you know what I'm saying?
Yes, we actually have a snowcat, but it's set up as a cross-country machine. It's only 10 feet wide, and we do use that to aid fish and game and rescues and other things.
So we'll be able to transport up and down in case there's an emergency on top of the hill to get
Yes.
people down.
It has a cabin on the back that allows us to put a sledge in the
Just
back.
make sure you get around your,
Right.
your extended platform. Variance, third item is granting the variance would do substantial justice because,
Because the general public would benefit significantly from having a safe platform. The proposed platform is consistent with the present use of Waumbek and of the railway. Certainly create additional property taxes. And I think another way to look at it is that the benefit to the cog is not outweighed by the harm to the general public.
if the variance were granted, the values of the surrounding properties would not be diminished because.
The surrounding properties would not be diminished because the project as proposed is consistent with the present use and it would not alter at all the existing character of the area.
Now, is there a platform landed there already, or is it just bare ground? I've
There's-
never been there, so.
There's a water tank, there's small platforms near the water tank, there's platforms that are used for loading and unloading passengers.
So that's small and narrow and
Yes.
unnecessary hardship, owing to a special condition of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area. Denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because when no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of the provision to the property because.
As stated, the Cog's property that it owns in fee is 99 feet long. Wide. Yeah, that's a short ride. Sorry, thank you. 99 feet wide. So due to the unique size of the property, the required 25-foot setback requirement would make it impossible to construct a platform that would safely accommodate the Cog passengers at Waumbek. And again, our abutter, White Mountain National Forest, the one particular parcel, there to the left is, over 10,000 acres. I think it's important that, given the special conditions of the property, the history, and the fact that it is bordered, by the White Mountain National Forest, and will always be bordered by the White Mountain National Forest. I think we can safely say that the application of that required 25-foot setback would not advance the purpose of the required setback in any fair or substantial way.
The proposed use is reasonable, one, because.
Again, given the uniqueness of the property, and the environment, the history, the construction of the platform is reasonable because it would provide a safe place for the railway's passengers to disembark the train and to enjoy at least a part of the mountain. I think I'd like to add to the uniqueness of all this by reminding everyone that the Sylvester Marsh, the founder of the railway, requested, a charter from the New Hampshire State Legislature, and I think that's back in 1858. And the legislature granted that charter. If you look up, the Mount Washington Railway Company, the first 5, entries in the Secretary of State are all handwritten initial charter and 4 amendments to that charter. And it's interesting. Does anyone, know why that rail corridor is 99 feet? Does anyone say, how did you get 99 feet? Well, if you struggle and you read through that charter, it references, and this is from the 1800s, a New Hampshire general law, and I believe it was General Law 146, and that specifically lays out how the railroad, which received all rights of any railroad, at that time, to lay out its track from the base to the summit of Mount Washington pursuant to this chapter. And you go to that chapter, the number has been changed, but it says that you can lay your you have to lay your tracks out pursuant to this, and it can be 6 rods wide. And as most of you probably know, the rod is 16.5 feet, and you multiply that times 6, and you get 99 feet. So the railroad's charter is to have that rail corridor. You look up the definition of rail corridor, it says 5.5 meters. Guess how wide? Am I getting confusing width and distance, right? 5.5 meters wide is 99 feet. So that's the specific, and I have charters here with me, and I also have plans from the 1920s that were done by the railroad that show the way they decided on measuring that 99 feet was going from that center rack 49.5 feet on either side. So it wasn't until, someone might correct me, but I think it was 1991 that the zoning ordinance here, Coos County Unincorporated Places, was adopted, and that they instituted this 25-foot setback. Now, does this setback even apply to the rail corridor? Is it reasonable to think that the state of New Hampshire, the legislature, gave the railroad 99 feet as a rail corridor, and then 100 and someone has to do the math, something years later, that they effectively cut the railroad's property in half? 99, 50, so then you have 49 and a half feet. So I think there's some very unique circumstances, very unique reasons that the railroad enjoyed its railroad corridor that was granted by charter, and that we submit that we satisfy these 5 variance standards to obtain variance. Sorry.
I'd also like to add.
Did I get too excited?
No. I'd just also like to add that when that charter was issued by the New Hampshire State Legislature in 1858, it granted to the railroad the rights of eminent domain to take additional property to establish stations and other facilities, shops, and other things necessary to the operation of the railway. The Weeks Act gets passed in 1915, and then the National Forest gets set up, and they limit the National Forest so that you cannot condemn their property. And so that further restricted, the fact that we're unable to condemn additional property for the station. Otherwise, we would have been able to go in and condemn another 25 feet, and we wouldn't be here for the setback, right?
Well, in fact, and thank you, Wayne, for reminding us all of that, but those handwritten charters say exactly that. The first version, the second version, and it's the third version that the law came, a codified law as part of the general statutes came, that 146, that says now you have to follow 146, and you're able to take land, and it even gave the formula as to how you would pay for the damages that whole statute goes on to say that we not only have the 99 feet, but we can take whatever we need on the other side for work and embankments and safety and whatnot. So the charter and the statute goes pretty far compared to where we are today asking for a setback.
Any further comments before we open to the public?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
May I sit?
Yes, take a break. Public comments, please state your name and speak to the chair, please.
Roger Doucette, Whitefield. Trying to understand, with the increase in platform size, are you increasing shelter size and capacity, or is it strictly platform?
Strictly platform.
Because so it's not like you're trying to move more people up the mountain?
No.
We're not trying to increase the capacity that we have in the winter right now at all.
Okay.
Hi, I just have a question. My name is Brian Coast, and in full disclosure, I don't live in Coos County. I live in Carroll, but I'm a federal taxpayer and user of the White Mountain National Forest. So I just
Please spell your last name, please.
POST. So I just wanted to confirm it's okay to ask a question as a member of the public. I'd like to reference a photo from a social media post put up by the Mount Washington Railway Company. I have a copy of it, so I can put one on the table if anyone wants to look at it. But I just wanted to clarify with Mr. Duval or Mr. Presby, and obviously this looks could be deceiving, but when I saw this photo, it almost looks like you're already nearing completion of a 28-foot wide platform, because it doesn't look like there's really much space left between the existing lean-to and the edge of your clearing. So I was wondering if you could clarify, have you only built the 18-foot wide platform, or is what we're looking at the actual 28-foot wide platform?
That's a photographic. Yeah, what you're looking at, that's just the 18 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said these lean-tos are, that lean-to that we're looking at is 10 feet.
It's 10 feet wide,
Yeah.
16 feet long, and 16 feet long.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it just looks like to me, I mean, if you put another lean-to at the back of that one, it would take up most of the rest of that area. So that's why I assumed that you had already built the 20-foot wide. But
If you could, if I could clarify a little bit, so what we would do is take those lean-tos there and push them back.
Okay.
So that 8-foot wide section would then be, and get that 10-foot extension. So the lean-tos just be pushed out of the way. And a lot of it comes down to, like, this past winter between 21 and 22, it gets pretty icy up there. We get a lot of sun in that location, and the snow will start to melt and refreeze. And we had 2 slip and falls where people were wandering around up there. It's not level ground, it's sloped. And it ended up with 2 broken legs over that season from people wandering off of the maintained areas. And with that limited deck space, that's what people tend to do, is spread out. Especially if you notice with COVID restrictions and guidelines and like that, people are staying further apart. And so it does lend people to walk further out into those areas that are unmaintained, causing injury.
okay. So going from 18 to 28 feet, we would see another 10 feet of platform beyond that current lean-to.
In front of the lean-to. So in this photo, sir, if you wouldn't mind, just that you. Here. So the platform ends right there at that lean-to, and what you can't see in the photo is the 8 feet in front of it.
Okay.
So that lean-to would then get pushed 10 feet back. So there'd be 18 feet of platform in front of it.
Okay.
Yep.
So, but how can the lean-to get pushed back if there's no more platform there?
Well, it can't be. That's why we're applying for that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
I'm Nancy DeCourcy from Jefferson. I've only lived up here since 1972, so I realize that doesn't count for much. DECOURCEY. I've been to the summit of Mount Washington, walking up with my own 2 feet. I don't do that too much anymore. I've driven my own vehicle. I've taken a number of courses where I rode the auto road vans. And one day I actually took a helicopter because I was helping with an airlift to Lakes of the Clouds huts, which was by I've never taken the railroad, it's never been in my budget. And I guess, I'm just having a problem with how the platform situation seems to be to, protect the safety of the general public. And I'm not seeing these folks that are getting off the trains as the general public. My hiking compadres whom I've met at the top were greasy, muddy, everything else, and we haven't tried to enter the little shelters for whatever reason. It seems to be a different group, but this is not general public. These are your customers. I'm sure some of them just wander in and say, "How cool! I can take a train to the top," but you're sending out publicity, trying to encourage people. I'm making money on it, and for those who can't figure out how to get to the summit any other way, I think it's fine for them. But by no stretch would I consider them the general public. It's not like crowded streets in downtown wherever. So I realize there's a one-size-fits-all application form, but to me it's not equivalent. And also, I'm assuming that your publicity tells them it might be rocky, muddy, and icy on the top of a mountain, and they should plan their footwear. Good Lord, I've seen what they wear on their feet in the summertime, so flip-flops don't cut it. But what are you expecting? It's the top of a mountain.
Yes, Mr. President.
If I might respond, I think this does benefit the public because it isn't just our passengers that are making use of this station. We have thousands of people hiking up along our right-of-way, along the tracks. We've got thousands of backcountry skiers that come in and hike up along the right-of-way and ski down. Search and rescue uses our right-of-way to help rescue people that get injured up on the summit. So it's way more than just our customers.
But I think the right-of-way is great. I've hiked, that's easy hiking when you go down, but I'm just talking about the platform on top, and can they stay longer than 20 minutes if they want to? Can they catch the next train, or they have to go back on the same one they took up?
Right
Just
now they go
curious.
back on the same one that they
Okay,
took up.
that's it.
Yeah.
Sue, I have a question. Can people use your facilities if they were climbing and say they were injured, or could they use it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Can you state your name, please?
Sue Suter, Suitor, Whitefield.
I might add that Sue's husband is the shop foreman at the Cog Railway. Maintains all the
We're not
locomotives.
here together.
Yes, please.
Sue Weems, I just have a question. My question is, what's the elevation at where we're talking about it at Waumbek is the name of the
Waumbek
place?
Station.
Waumbek Station. What elevation are we talking about there?
It's a little over 4,000 feet.
It's actually less than that. If you look at the plan, it's like 3986 or something like that.
So you're below tree line at
We're below tree
that
line,
point?
yes.
About 39.
Yeah, I think the tree line, you hit tree line at about, really at about 5,000 feet, 4,700, 5,000.
Do you have any bignell thrush in that area? Do you know?
Bitnell thrush.
Bignell thrush,
I
that bird?
don't know.
Any other public comments? Yes, please.
Yes, hi, John Swan, Dalton, New Hampshire. Also a member of Friends of Mount Washington. I have a question for the Cog Railway. Typically in a year, how many documented injuries, accidents do you have at Waumbek? Do you have like an average? How many did you have last year?
Last year we had 3 slip and falls.
So you had 3 slip and
One
falls.
was a bumped head and 2 resulted in broken legs.
Okay. So I would say to the zoning board, you have 5 criteria that this project has to meet to approve the variance request. And I think they just confirmed that there really isn't a hardship if you deny this variance request, because obviously the Cog Railway is working. They are taking people up and down the mountain. Sounds like it's relatively safe at the existing Waumbek station. So it sounds like this is more of a want than a need, especially when you frame it in terms of the safety of their customers or the public. So I would ask the zoning board to take that into consideration. And then second, in light of all the controversy with the Lizzie Station project and the fact that Mr. Presby has admitted that he wants to create upscale accommodations atop Mount Washington, I think you need to take into account the fact that with so much opposition to further impacts on Mount Washington, that this improvement, this Waumbek station, is a part of that Lizzie Station project, because if you read the reviews on TripAdvisor relative to the Cog Railway, Waumbek station's gotten, in 2020, they got a negative review because it was 3 sheds and a piece of dirt. And Mr. Presby responded on that TripAdvisor saying that we're going to make improvements to that. So I think this is part of that Lizzie Station project, because Mr. Presby and the Cog, they want to sell these upscale accommodations atop Mount Wash, and he needs to improve Waumbek Station in order to sell that. So I really think, this is not serving the public interest by approving this variance request for Waumbek. Waumbek exists, the Cog Railway's working, it's not a safety issue, it's a vanity and a want issue. So I would just urge the Zoning Board of Appeals to really take into account your role in this decision and the 5 criteria that have to be met. And they've already just told you it's not a safety issue, so there's not going to be a hazard. It's not going to impose hardship if you deny the request. And at the same time, it is not in the public interest, because the public, how many of you want to see more impacts to Mount Washington? Raise your hand if you want to see more impacts to Mount Washington. You don't. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I would absolutely like to respond to that. I mean, first and foremost, I think that the standard or the 5-part test is being flipped on its head. Number one, as the property owner, we have a constitutional right to be able to use that property, okay, in a viable manner. And this is a viable manner. And the way that test goes is that it's about the setback. We need to look at the setback. What's the purpose of that setback? Okay, I went through the purpose of that setback, and there's no application of that setback to this particular project. Doesn't advance the purpose of that setback in any fair and substantial way, and that's the way that the test goes. And it's the harm. There's the White Mountain National Forest is okay with this. They're like, make sure people don't duck into the woods and come to our into the forest, sort of thing. They're like, are you going to keep the folks on the platform or on your property? And yes. So again, there's I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Well, we just said it's safe. Well, we just said that we had 3 people that slipped and fell. So if we had nice flat platforms that we sanded and salted, and we would reduce the injuries further and the potential injuries further. So I think that it does serve a purpose of public safety.
My name is Abby Ivanko from Gorham, and thank you for your time. To speak to the obvious, trains and train tracks are long and narrow. Historical train depots are long and narrow. A long, narrow deck aesthetically fits at the train station. This is how businesses have been building in railroad right-of-ways for over a century. There's no good reason to change it now. Hearing that the Co-op's Planning Board has, in fact, officially approved a conforming deck, I support the COG's right to build that approved conforming deck. It seems that in the course of approving that deck, that the safety would have been properly addressed. So to hear that now the approved deck isn't safe doesn't really make sense. I hope this board will deny the request for a variance to build a larger deck into the setbacks. Because the applicant has not met all the legal requirements that would allow the ZBA to authorize this variance. The applicant has not made the case that adhering to the setback requirements engenders an actual hardship. The COG website shows its passengers already disembarking and using the Waumbek station safely with no deck. And they haven't explained why the approved conforming deck is unsafe. And I agree that this deck, the purpose of this deck is to serve their customers coming off the trains. That is not the general public. That is their paying customers. It's also, it's troubling to see in the COAS Planning Board minutes that the applicant had to that the COAS Planning Board had to ask this applicant to come before them to review the lean-tos that were already built without the proper approvals. And I concur with others who've said that granting this requested variance can lead to a slippery slope of unintended precedences. I hope you'll deny this unnecessary request for a variance and ensure that this business, as with all other businesses and citizens, follow our county laws as written. Thank you.
Any further comments?
Dennis Pedno, Pednault. A point of order on the discussion with the Forest Service, as I do not believe that you can use that in doing your deliberations. That's hearsay. You know, that yes, there were some employees and they were enthusiastic, but I don't think the Forest Service works that way, where, you know, talking to, you know, and we're listening to him, he's telling us one thing. I don't know if there's other people that were talked to that were less receptive. So I guess to me, you should discount, you know, the assertion that the Forest Service has accepted it. Employee, I will agree, you know, that he named 2 employees that said yeah, but I don't think that's the U.S. Forest Service, you know, way of doing anything.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to respond to that, in all fairness. I'm submitting to you as counsel for the railway that I met with Derek, the forest supervisor, and Brooke Brown, and I submitted plans, applications, materials, reviewed it in detail with them. They're not here tonight. I asked the question if I could represent that I met with them, and they said yes. And I didn't say anything about enthusiastically anything. There was no objection.
I might also add that Earl DeWall is a member of the New Hampshire Bar, and as such, he's got a fiduciary duty, particularly in front of a public body, not to lie, which would put him in a position where he could be disbarred. So if he's representing, he had those conversations, and they are not true, he's putting himself up for disbarment.
And also, if you look at the date to when we were before the planning board, Wayne thought that maybe if we could get started on something in September and October, because the building season is so short, that we could at least get something in the ground. And the fact that we were thinking about the extension and the variance, because we were asking the board what their thoughts would be if we did come, you know, to do that, to make sure we weren't going to play ping pong. And it was very important for us, for me, for us, the railroad, especially in light of everything that's going on, to go to the Forest Service and say, you know, this is what we're thinking about doing. So, you know, it took that time, and then, you know, Jennifer might attest to the fact how much I bothered her through the summer to get Chairman Scarinza to respond to get the zoning denial sheet so that we could get filed. So, you know, it all just, you know, stacked up, and that's why we're here now. So, thank you.
Any further discussion?
Cam Bradshaw from Berlin, and I guess I'm also surprised that the Forest Service could just say yes to something like this, since it is public land. I'm just surprised there's not a process for it where where we would be informed and have some kind of agreement on.
I didn't say that they said yes, I said they have no objection.
Again, John Swan, Dalton, as suggested, as stated, that's hearsay. It could be true, but it's not the official policy. It's not in writing, and I think you at least need to get it from the abutter in writing if they have no issue with it. But talking to two people and then coming and just telling you that my neighbor said it was okay to set my swimming pool 3 feet into the setback next to their property. They said it was cool. No worries.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, did the White Mountain National Forest receive notice?
Yes.
Can we see that?
But that's not the same as written statements saying,
So they received notice that there was a hearing this evening before the zoning board of adjustment.
And they could have sent a representative
Could've.
objecting if they felt that it was necessary.
but we don't know their official position at this point.
Yes.
Yeah, Lucy Wyman, Lancaster. I appreciated hearing the history, Mr. Duvall. That was really interesting. And as far as the board here goes, I've gone through the minutes that go back to 19 and before that, and I've been really confused about the process vis-a-vis the structures that were built and the timing and all of that. So I guess I'm just saying that I'm confused about that, and I don't know if this.
About the previous structures that.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with this board here, that is with the planning board.
Oh, it's a planning board. Okay.
Planning board, nothing to do with this board.
Okay, all right, then strike that from the record. But I also agree with comments that have been made that the Cog Railway riders are not what I would call the general public. I think they're probably more flush than most people, and cause I think it's pretty costly to ride that. But and also, if you count the numbers, I don't know. I mean, maybe Wayne, you can tell us, but if you consider all the hikers that go up there, and all the cars that go up there, and all the people that go up there, and all the other methods and ways of getting there, what percentage of the people that go to the summit ride a Cog? Do you know?
Probably 33%.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I know that there's been a lot of discussions about limiting the number of people that go to the summit of Mount Washington. The Cog Railway left all the property to Dartmouth College then turned around and conveyed the property out to different entities. And they put a restriction in the deed to the state of New Hampshire that specifically reserved unto the Cog Railway, the Mount Washington Auto Road, members of the public, skiers, hikers, people that wanted to conduct scientific research and educational groups, the right to cross and recross the property at the summit. They don't have access to the buildings, but they have the rights to cross the property. So because of that restriction in the deed, you cannot limit the number of people that go up there. And I would say that, you know, you're getting on a very slippery slope when you start talking about doing that. Should we start limiting how many people get to go to North Conway? How many people come into the state of New Hampshire? You know, how many people can live in Lancaster? How many people can engage in farming? I mean,
We're gonna get off topic here too, so it's trying to narrow it back down. Any other questions pertaining to this variance request?
Did you say you don't have a quorum tonight?
We have a quorum.
Oh, you do have a quorum, okay, and so.
We don't have a full board.
Oh, all right, got it.
Motion to close the hearing?
I make a motion that we table this and for further study, and that the board actually go on on-site visitation, so we know exactly what to do.
Yeah, I'm not gonna second that. I think we're ready to go forward. It's just 10 feet. Are you, I mean, if you're prepared to vote no otherwise, I suppose it's.
What I'm saying is, we're seeing this in distant pictures, not in 3D. I'd like to actually have visit and know what's being presented. How many people from you guys went up to the station? Not one.
People included.
I've been to the station, I've been to the top.
No, I've been to the top too, went up on railroad.
I don't want to ride a railroad.
I'm gonna throw it prior to this arrangement.
I haven't been to Casella's landfills either, but I don't want one next to Forest Lake, so.
For me, it makes sense that the members of the board do visit, because it's, you get an honest look.
Easier to look at it.
It's easier to look at.
Would you be willing to take us up and show us
Not to
around?
vote tonight, but to wait after.
I would, the only thing I would ask is that if we're gonna do that, that we do it soon, rather than later, because the season's getting short again.
This is 60 days.
Could we, at least
We
close
should
the
all go.
public hearing? Do you need a motion for that? I move we close the public hearing.
There's a motion on the floor, though. He's got a motion on the floor.
It was not seconded, so. Thank you for your help. Motion to close
Yeah.
public hearing, then we can continue this discussion.
Yes, second.
All in favor of closing public hearing?
Aye?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed.
I don't know.
We don't have to vote tonight.
I understand that, but I think that I have all the information I need to vote tonight.
I'm still kind of want to see it, like Lefty wants to see it. And just to do it fair justice to make sure we're correct, either one way or the other.
I have no problem with you taking a trip up the railroad and looking at the actual site. At all.
And how soon can we put this together?
Posted as a public meeting.
How many days is that?
It's 10 days minimum.
You gotta start, if we pass the ordinance,
The variance.
variance, you wanna start as soon as possible.
Absolutely, I mean, you know,
We start tomorrow. if we let
we're
you.
at 4,000 feet, so it's gonna start getting cold soon. That makes it difficult to work on. Makes it difficult to work in snow and ice and
When do you suggest that we should go up? Since you say soon.
tomorrow.
What am I doing tomorrow? Tomorrow is Wednesday. Yeah, we can do that. I can do it.
If you're doing this as a board, it has to be a public meeting. It has to be posted.
Yeah.
Individuals, you can go up separately and faster.
Yeah, again, I mean, what you're gonna do is you're gonna see an unfinished situation. I mean, I think the best possible,
That's the finished project.
this is the finished project, and I mean, this is what it's gonna look like when it's done, and that's probably the best representation that I can give you.
We got the maps.
This wasn't in the packet, though, was it?
Yes, it was.
It was?
The same.
It was not, no.
Oh, it was not.
Because we just had it done.
You want to get for the record, the file, really needy.
They're just asking for 10 feet, and it's just forest on the other side of the boundary. So I'm not sure what, delaying an answer is gonna do for us by taking a trip up there. I mean, I'd love to take a trip on the Cog myself, but I don't know why I don't know what more information we need. So that's why I'm in favor of just being done with it tonight. But sorry to put you on the spot. I've done this before with.
So if I find a piece of land and you don't go visit it, and you're walking there blind, you say blah, 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 this is what's here, this is what's gonna happen. And you come and you do a visit and you find out, wow, there's more to it than what we need to know.
I understand. The only abutter has no complaints, cause they
Yes,
didn't,
I know that.
they didn't,
But
they
it's
didn't
concern,
submit, they didn't
right.
represent, they didn't send a
Concern to
letter.
the county.
It's just me and you. Cause the chair can't
I
say
will
anything.
to the table this the next Tuesday after our visit.
I won't second it yet. It's getting cold though, so eventually I'm gonna second it. I motion to approve the variance as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's made with a second to approve the variance. All those in favor by roll call, please.
Name,
Well, I assume that who's calling?
Roland Lefty Burge, yes.
Mark Evans, yes.
Chair.
I vote nay, but it still carries. Motion carries. Variance has been approved.
That's great. Mark just bullied you into approval. Nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It had to be unanimous since there were only three of you.
What was the vote? Was it
Three, 2 to 1.
2 to 1.
2 to 1.
I guess there's only 5. Well, that's an example of one member bullying the board.